Welcome back to the Rowing Friends podcast. In this episode, we talk about college visits, catch up with what our kids are up to, but also get into some rowing, talking about UB and what we found out. Hope you enjoy this episode. Well, I'll give the update on the SUNY Oswego visit. So, last week, my son, I chased him down because you know how it is when you're trying to find time to talk to your kids. There's barely any time. It's in between practice and eating something and going upstairs to do their homework. So I was like, hey, do you want to go to any schools during break week? Because my friend Kate was like, you should get out there while the schools are open and they have the visit. So he was like, he looked at the list because you can go on the SUNY website and there's like a infograph that has like it's by major and then it says what schools have what. So I took a screenshot of that, I sent it to him. I was like, take a look at these schools and figure out which ones that you want to go visit. So he wants to do film with production. So some schools are just like film studies and some are like cinematography, so they all kind of have like a different focus. So he wanted to go to Oswego and visit because he has a friend who's actually going there for film next year. So we just made the appointment, which shout out to like SUNY and the ease of making those visits. Like it's very easy to find the visit portal right on their website. You go in there, you input some information. They send an email. I always have to be careful because they send the email. The way I do it, it ends up sending the email to like the kid. So Luke got the email for like parking and how
Yeah.
to get the parking pass and stuff like that. So it was really easy to find. I mean, we live in Rochester, so it was just a quick trip down 104. I mean, pretty much a straight shot. I mean, you stay on 104 and then you run into Oswego at one point. So we got there and we got there a little bit early, which is like a shout out to me because I don't usually get to things early. We got there probably about 45 minutes to an hour early. So we were able to park. We were able to get the parking pass set up. We were able to kind of walk around and we went over to the business school and there was a cafe there and it's totally student run. So we got
hmm
coffees there. We had
Nice.
really great matcha and my daughter got that. I got the chai and Luke got a college size double chocolate muffin. It totally reminded me, remember like I don't know if like you had any classes in like the natural science building and there was like this little cafe there and you
hmm
could get bagels and stuff, but they had these muffins that were like the size of
Yes.
like bowling balls almost.
Yep.
And they were like double chocolate muffins. Like
hmm
that's what Luke had yesterday. So I was like, oh, that's so cool
Nice.
that they still
Must be a
have
SUNY thing.
must be a SUNY thing. So the tour was really great. There was probably, I don't know, maybe five or six other parents and kids there, people rushing in, and it was very laid back. Like they didn't start like right on time. So, which is nice for somebody like me who sometimes like, people get lost and
hmm
you don't know where you're
Yeah.
going. So, I know when we were at the Syracuse one, it was very particular. Like you had to be in the room at a certain time or like you weren't going to make the tour. Whereas this one was like, it was kind of like a rolling wait. And we probably didn't leave the actual admissions office until about 15 minutes after the arrival time,
hmm
which was nice. We were there early. Some people came in late. It was good for them. We saw the whole campus. I mean, they took us everywhere, and it was just really neat. Like, we talked about the business school. They've got it's a teaching college, so teacher thing that we walked through. Al Roker is one of their famous
I
alumni.
think I knew
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, so there's like a Al Roker's a film studio thing
Neat.
where they broadcast like it's like a student, I think it's a club. The way that it made it sound was like a student run club. They had like I forget what the technical terms for the cameras and the blues, the on the not blue green screens and they had like the production room. So that was really interesting for Luke to see all that. Um, Big hockey school. They don't even have football, so I guess they have a flag football team.
hmm
So they have a hockey arena, broom ball, all kinds of like, the classic college things that make you think of it being more of a resort than an actual place of higher learning. So like, well, you can play broom ball and you can rent ice skates and go ice skating. I was like, super cool stuff like that. So that was neat. She talked about some of the different ceremonies they have. They have like a candle lighting ceremony at the beginning of freshman year, and they do the same thing senior year. So she was getting ready to do that because the person was giving us the tour was a senior. Um, Yeah, it was really nice, and it's a quiet place. It looks like it seemed very, I don't want to say sleepy, but just kind of relaxed. And there weren't a lot of kids mulling around. Um, it's a smaller college, so, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we totally go swimming in the lake. Like you can see the lake from like every point on
Hmm.
on the school. So that's, I mean, that's got to be nice watching the sun set
Yeah.
over the lake. I mean, that's pretty neat. Um, I don't know when they go swimming in the lake because I mean, when they get there in August, maybe they go down to the
Maybe.
beach, and like
Yeah.
there are actually like two residence halls that are like on the water. So it's like,
Nice.
yeah, I mean, it definitely gave SUNY vibes. Like
Hmm.
now that I've been to a lot of SUNY schools, like SUNY schools have like a vibe, and it's like,
Hmm.
I don't know. Like I don't know. It's like kind of like it reminds me of UB. Like the
Hmm.
buildings aren't like old and historic. They have like maybe one or two buildings that were kind of like collegey.
Yeah.
Everything else is very like 60s, 70s
60s and
modern.
70s. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, with the like the brick front
Hmm.
buildings, and a lot of stuff was undergoing renovation. The dorm room felt about the same as the Brockport room is Timmy, the same, and about the same as the UB dorm room. I mean, like, it's like a small space, one bed on one side, one bed on the other, closet kind of thing. So,
Cool.
nothing to write home about. Um, they had changed their bathrooms so that they weren't like female male, or like they're
Hmm.
not gender assigned bathrooms. So it's kind of like in some of the dorms it's just a bathroom, like it's a one person thing, like a toilet,
Hmm.
sink, shower, and so then you just have to wait for, your turn to use it.
Hmm.
But some of them are still like the locker room style, like we had when we were
Hmm.
at UB, which is like I think of my kids trying to manage that. I remember it being difficult for me, like just kind of
Hmm.
like all of a sudden, like you're basically in a public bathroom every day. You get ready.
Yeah.
I mean, you get used to it, but
Sure.
yeah, it's different. So,
Hmm.
um, Luke liked it. I
Oh,
mean,
good.
he was positive about it, and on the way home, we were starting to like brainstorm just about other places that are, within that hour and a half, 2 hour, 3 hour range. He wants to see Binghamton. We might go out to NYU, but I don't know if we'll be able to get out there when it's actually within school session. So I don't know how much we'll be able to see.
Hmm.
Um, we were also thinking about Toronto. I don't know. Like
Mm.
we were looking up the film schools in Toronto to see, if there's something that's interesting. And Toronto's pretty close. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
a, hop, skip, and a jump around the lake. So, I mean, he
Yeah.
can go 3 hours up that way, or he can
Hmm.
go 3 hours down to Erie. Like I was like, there's like a lot of different places because kind of where we are, you're kind of close to a couple
Hmm.
different things. So, yeah, it was a good, productive visit, and
Good.
he asked some questions, and yeah.
Good.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, on the tour, what were some of the questions that like students or parents asked? What are they interested in?
It was the dormitory questions. People were
Hmm.
asking about like one person asked if you could room with the opposite gender. Somebody was asking about devices and stuff like that, like bringing like a PlayStation, that kind of thing. They want to know if they had the Wi-Fi to run that smoothly. Um, let's see, what else do people ask? I asked about devices, like, because sometimes certain schools require like a certain type of
Hmm.
like MacBook or a Dell or something like that. She said that the film students generally get Macs, the business students have to have a laptop of some sort, like that's like a
Hmm.
requirement. Um, I was trying to think. Oh, they don't have the blue light system, and
Oh,
they use one of those location app things for your phone. So that's how
interesting.
they do. Yeah. So somebody had asked about that.
Hmm.
Um,
But
somebody had
did it
asked.
used to have, I would imagine they used to have it
Yeah, I
back in
would
the
think
day.
so. Like,
Hmm.
yeah. So, but they must have just converted to
Hmm.
just the app. And I guess something like where you log in where you are, and then you tell them where you're going. And if you don't arrive in time, or you don't arrive, if you don't hit that you've arrived, they'll call you. If
Hmm.
you don't answer, they'll come to your last known location.
So it's on, well, there's probably a lot of questions that you wouldn't be able to answer, but it sounds like, I would have a lot of questions because it
Yeah.
sounds almost like it's up to the student to constantly be putting in where they're going, and I can't see a lot of students doing
Doing
that.
that.
And
Yeah.
then a lot of people don't like that sort of thing for privacy reasons. So
Yeah. So
interesting.
it
Hmm.
didn't, yeah, that was interesting. It's the first school I visited that didn't still have the blue light system.
Hmm.
So that was kind of, yeah, that was different. She said there's a police presence that the police
Hmm.
are always, or their, campus security is always monitoring the the roadways and things. And she was saying that you must follow the speed limit because she said that she has gotten a ticket before.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, so you can't zoom through campus.
Yeah.
But it was nice. I mean,
Good.
I'm trying to think of what other questions
Hmm.
people had.
I'm
Um,
just I'm just always interested because people tend to ask very similar questions, and it's just interesting to me that what the type of questions, and even just the questions that I ask and that Hannah has asked, um, because it's like interesting to see what colleges decide on certain things. Like the big one we've noticed is the difference between colleges that include laundry as part of the
um,
fees that you just like you don't even have to worry about it, or maybe you just swipe your card and it's included. And other ones you just use at will, like there's nothing. And some have an app that tells you when it's ready. And then the other one tends to be air conditioning in dorms.
oh, okay.
And we were noticing that sometimes it was like you would find that laundry was included, but there was no air conditioning, or there was air conditioning and and laundry was, nobody's really using the quarters, but
Yeah.
like a swipe system to like almost like a declining balance thing.
Yeah, laundry was included.
Hmm.
And they weren't concerned about air conditioning because it's snow country. What I
Yeah.
thought was interesting was they're like, oh yeah, there's shovels provided at the residence hall desk if you had to shovel your car out. I was
Well,
like,
that's very helpful.
you don't think about it, but I mean they are right on the lake. So depending
Yeah.
like what type of winter we had, like this winter was super cold, so the lake froze. So you can't
Hmm.
get lake effect without when the lake is frozen, if I'm correct on
I'm
that.
pretty
I'm
sure
not a
you're right. Yeah.
meteorologist.
I
They
mean,
did
yeah.
they did take us up to the meteorology desk, like
Oh, yeah, that's big there.
like
Hmm.
a deck there, and you can look out and like, oh my gosh, you can see for miles and miles and miles and right out to the lake. It's beautiful. It's very, very
Hmm.
beautiful. So,
Nice.
but small. It has a small feel
Yeah.
to it. It's not a UB. It's not a
Hmm.
huge school. There weren't people mulling around everywhere.
Yeah.
And the cafeteria, like that kind of had an old school high school in the 80s feel to it, like very
Hmm.
like retro because it hasn't been updated, not retro because it's a throwback.
Yeah, good distinction.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the actual dining area where the kids were sitting, like that had been renovated and was really nice, but the actual place where you pick up your food felt
Hmm.
very like cafeteria style. So, but they
Hmm.
did have like quick eat places that you could use your like I'm gonna call it declining balance because that's what
Hmm.
we called it back in the day, like using that declining balance for
Hmm.
vending machines and coffees and all that type of stuff. And I can imagine if my daughter went, there'd be a lot of boba and a lot of matcha and a lot of chai. Like, I don't think she'd eat anything solid. Like, I think it would just be all like flavored drinks.
Yeah. Yeah. I have friends that went there and they loved it there. So that's a great, I'm so glad you guys got a chance to visit. So was that on Saturday or Sunday?
That was actually yesterday that we went.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, we
Oh,
went.
that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
So I had art class in the morning,
Hmm.
and then did some things, and then we were off to Oswego for the afternoon. So it's a quick ride out. I mean,
Hmm.
hour and a half.
Well, that's not
And
too
it's
bad.
it's
Yeah.
pretty, like I said, it's pretty straight shot out. It is 104, which is kind of like this road where it's like it can be like a highway or it can be
Hmm.
like single lane traffic. Like I could imagine driving that in the winter would be
Hmm.
difficult. Just because it's not a main highway and it's just a route. And a lot of people like the danger of people just like going in front and like, you know what I mean? Like people were
Hmm.
scooting in front of us. I'm like, it makes sense to like be going fast if you're going to California. Okay, it's going to
Hmm.
make it'll make hours and hours difference if you sit beside behind somebody who's going exactly 55. But I'm only going an hour and a half, and it means I'm going to get home like in an hour and 32 minutes rather than an hour and 30 minutes. So I
Yeah.
always err on the side of caution. And then if there's a truck or something and I don't feel comfortable going around them, I'm just gonna, I mean, I have a minivan full of kids. Like, what am I trying to do? So so I'll sit, like, people were like, is this minivan gonna pass this truck? And I'm like, no, dude, we're just gonna cruise back here, for the next 30 to 40 minutes behind this semi truck. I'm like, what,
Hmm.
because the one time you try to drag race a semi truck to get around them is when,
Oh God.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mm-mm.
like it's not worth it. So
Hmm.
that was one thing I was concerned about. Like I could imagine like Luke driving back from there, like do I
Yeah.
feel comfortable with him? Like the throughway's a little bit, I mean, I guess it's just as bad, but at least it's double lane rather than like that single lane and you're stuck behind somebody being frustrated and you want to get home.
Hmm.
So I don't want him to be tempted to do something like that. But we talked about that on the ride home that,
Hmm.
you know, it doesn't math. The math doesn't math. And speeding if you're only going an hour's worth of distance away doesn't make any sense. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, is he driving?
I drove yesterday, but he drives.
He
Yeah.
drives?
Yeah, so
Okay.
he's a December birthday.
December. Okay.
So he's like old for his class. So
Oh,
he's one
okay.
of the
All
older
right.
kids. So he's had his license
Okay.
since the beginning of summer.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
somewhere around
Hmm.
there. He took the
Yeah.
test. He's a fantastic driver. He's very
Hmm.
comfortable behind the wheel. Like I send him out to go do everything. Basically, drives M everywhere they need to go for practice and for school. And he drives out to Brockport and picks up Timmy. Like,
Oh.
he's a very natural driver, but
Hmm.
we taught him and then he took the test and failed because we didn't teach him all the rules. He got knocked off points because he went up to the stop sign and didn't stop at the white line. He stopped at the crosswalk.
Hmm.
And then he did something on his K turn or his parallel park that, so he failed the first time.
Hmm.
We gave him one set of driver's lessons,
Hmm.
and then he was good. He took the test and he passed it, and he's been driving ever
Nice.
since. So,
So
yeah.
he's 2007 that
Yeah,
was the year?
2007.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, because he's the same year as Hannah, but Hannah's a little bit young for her grade. She's a September 2008. So
Okay.
yeah, so
Yeah.
she got her permit pretty shortly after she turned 16, but she has not been practicing a whole lot this winter. So hopefully this summer, I mean, maybe in the spring, but we'll see.
Mhm.
But hopefully in the summer we have time and she can take the test at some point. She's, sort of interested, sort of not that much,
Timmy
which
wasn't
I'm
interested at
good. Yeah.
all. Yeah, Timmy wasn't
Yeah.
interested at all. He
Mm-mm.
he didn't get his permit until the summer um after he turned 16, and he's a November baby, but he went early. So he
Hmm.
was 4 being 5 in kindergarten. So he
Yeah.
was very old, like he was very far into the high school process before he got his driver's license.
Yeah.
And he did summer driver's ed because he does a sport, and with
Hmm.
driver's ed in a sport it just doesn't work out. You miss too many practices. You'd have to sit a season out if you're going to take driver's ed. So he did it during the summer. He passed on his first try, but like as far
Hmm.
as drivers, like Luke's the better driver. Like he's like
Hmm.
Timmy was just never as confident with it. Just
Hmm.
as some people just aren't comfortable. It's just like it just kind of gets under their skin of what are other people
Hmm.
doing, and Luke
Yeah.
just can kind of blocks that out and can feel comfortable just driving where Timmy's very like white knuckles to even
Yeah.
still like, and he doesn't drive
Hmm.
all that much because he's at school.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think,
there is an insurance discount for people out there who are worried about having all their, like, 'cause we have 4 kids and now we have two who are drivers. There is a discount if your kid is at school and they don't have a car. So make sure you have
oh.
to call your insurance company
Hmm.
when they leave for school to make
Hmm.
the change in your insurance, and you have to call them back if they come home and they start driving a bunch. You have to call them back and let them know that they're back from school and that they need to be added back onto your policy. So
Well, that's good. I'm
just
glad you're not
FYI.
having to pay a high insurance cost if
Oh
he's
yeah, it's
not
still a
driving at
billion
all.
dollars. I mean, it's still so expensive, but it's worth it
Yeah.
to be able, because I mean, Luke can take his sister to practice. They can go to meets. Like I don't have to wait at like we used to wait at the school like
Yeah.
11, midnight, waiting for them to come back from a track meet. We don't have to do that
Mhm.
anymore, so that's good. Just
Yeah,
hop in the
that's a
car and
huge
come
help.
home. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Yeah, Hannah's at practice right now. So spring break, she's got 2 days. So she had 2 practices yesterday.
Wow.
Managed to get in to see the Minecraft movie in between with our neighbors.
My kids went to see the Minecraft movie too.
Yeah.
They thought it was,
hmm
they didn't think it was all that great, but I think they had a lot of fun. So
Yeah,
that's
I think
good.
we went to see it with them and I would agree with that assessment. It was entertaining.
Entertaining, yes.
Yeah.
And Luke has just to go off on another Luke tangent.
hmm
So they bought tickets to see the Minecraft movie. Luke decided he was going to take Mikey with him to the
hmm
movie because you can drive a sibling,
Okay.
if
hmm
you're out driving. So he was going to take Mikey. Timmy comes home from school that weekend. So Timmy's the college one that he comes home from school. He makes plans to go to the Minecraft movie with one of his friends. So they're going to the Minecraft movies, but going to separate theaters, doing separate things. Timmy doesn't know what theater he's going to. And his friend had set everything up. So they ended up going to the Apple Theater. And we have an Apple Theater, like probably like, I don't know, 3, 4 miles away from us where our mall is. They go
hmm
to the Apple Theater that's across town, like 20 miles away. Because his very knowledgeable, I'm sure, friend had decided that they wanted to go do that. They had picked the Apple Theater, but then they didn't eat there. Like that's like the whole point of going to an Apple theater so that you can eat like
Oh,
your meal there.
we don't have those. I don't
Yeah,
know
it's
what
like
those
yeah,
are.
it's like a movie theater where you can get like a meal and drinks and like
Hmm.
it's like supposed to be it's like a I haven't gone yet, so it's supposed to be like a restaurant-y kind of thing, but they
Okay.
bring the food to you. Kind of like if you were sitting in like maybe box seats at a game or something where like
Oh,
they
okay.
bring the food to you while you're watching the
Mm,
movie. They go there. They didn't eat there. This is like the infinite wisdom of children. They go there, cross town, didn't eat there, and then they drive to another like suburb to get like Chick-fil-A. I'm like, okay,
mm,
whatever. Luke, on the other hand, he also had an adventure. They drove to the movie theater. They had already bought the tickets. They went up to the window. It's a 6 o'clock movie, but there's a 6 o'clock curfew, meaning that you can't see a movie without an adult after 6 o'clock. Luke is 17, Mikey's 11.
oh,
So they
oh.
could, but they were with one friend who was 18, the other
hmm
friend who was like, I think she was 17. So three out of the, four people who are going to the movie can't get into the movie. So
mm,
then they're like, well, how about we go? The one kid's like, I know the movie theater in Brockport doesn't have a curfew. It's like how Brockport's like a small little town. They have like a movie theater. It's like an old style cinema. You know what
hmm
I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Like so but they're on the like not on the other side of town, but they're probably a good 15 or 20 minutes away from this other movie theater. It's 6 o'clock. That movie starts at 7. They don't have tickets for it. They have to get refunds because they bought these tickets at the Cinemark movie theater, and of course they won't let them in because they're too young. And so they get their refunds. They hop in the car. They drive across town to this other movie theater. They get there. Meanwhile, like Luke is like texting us, and I'm just like, as a parent, you're kind of like, can you just come home? Like, but then you're like, this is like a learning experience. I feel like these kids who like they're so sheltered. Like we would do crazy stuff like this as kids, and we'd like because
Sure.
we didn't have cell phones,
Yeah.
we didn't have to give our parents the play-by-play. If our parents had the play-by-play of the silly things we were doing, at one point they would have just told us to come home. But I was
Yeah.
like, okay, let's give him the space.
hmm
It was nice that he was graciously took his 11-year-old brother with him to see this movie, that he was going to take him with his friends. I was like, let them figure this out. I'm like, words don't teach. Let them go
hmm
ahead and go out to this other movie theater, hoping that there's no curfew. Because like it
hmm
was just kind of like his friends like, yeah, there's no curfew at this other movie theater. And we're just like, okay. So they get out there and there wasn't a curfew. They let them in because it's like a small town little theater. They're trying to sell as many tickets as possible.
Sure.
They watch the movie, they have a great time, they get popcorn, buy way too much candy, and
hmm
we're very, very happy when they came home. By the time
hmm
everybody came back to the house. It was like, I don't know, almost 10 or 11 by the time everybody rolled in. And the just to hear them giggling back and forth and talking about the movie, I was like, okay, I guess this was a good adventure for them. So
Sure, yeah. No, I think that's right. I think they probably learned a lot and had fun trying to navigate it. And
yeah.
yeah, that's great. The movie was such a small part of the journey.
Yeah, it was just
Hmm
it was a place to sit down for a little bit in between the
hmm
craziness.
Sure. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So Hannah has 2 days for the rest
Hmm
of the week.
Yeah, except for
Um,
Friday. I think they have like Friday afternoon off. So,
okay.
but luckily so far, I haven't looked at the forecast for the rest of the week, but yesterday was a beautiful day and they had two really nice practice. Like the weather was nice. I know that, practice can be hard. So,
Yep. Yep. Came close
um,
to it at this
yep.
point, right?
Yeah, and she was sick, so this yesterday morning was her first day after having a couple days off. So I think, getting back into the groove of things. And then yeah, so Keegan doesn't have practice this week for the mods, which is probably good. The mods are just,
Mhm.
having a week off, which he's enjoying. And yeah, and then this weekend, I tried to get Hannah to watch a few. She did watch a few. Chris and I were watching. We're just total rowing nerds, and
Mhm.
he was definitely watching the Masters, so we were very, excited that Rory won. But um, we were also catching some regattas.
Yeah.
So
Did you watch the
um,
boat race? I was talking to somebody else who
you
was like,
know,
I didn't watch it. I'm like,
I tried, I think I was able to watch it last year pretty easily, but this year was a real hassle to try and find out how to watch it. I think I would have had to do one of those like trial subscriptions to ESPN
um,
Plus. I could be
um,
wrong. Somebody might be listening to this and saying like, "Oh no, it wasn't that hard to watch." But um it was not easy. I tried. And then I just kind of shifted attention to finding some college races and ended up getting like sucked into the Connect Cup and watched way too many hours. I was stretching while I was watching and like drinking my coffee. So I made it feel like I was doing my normal, whatever day that was. I think it was both Sunday and Saturday. So I think mostly I watched on Saturday. Um, but it was, I'm totally entertained by watching rowing. Like I said, like I could just watch it and like just soak in like watching people's technique, watching they had good commentators. Um the first day seemed to be definitely two people who knew about rowing, and then the second day, which was kind of interesting, they definitely had a guest. And again, I didn't watch the whole thing, so I don't
yeah.
didn't wasn't there for when they introduced the people who were talking about the races, but they had one person who seemed to know nothing about rowing and
Oh
another
wow.
person who had been the commentator the day before.
Mhm.
So it almost seems like maybe they were doing that intentionally, and I think it makes sense, right? Because a lot of people who are watching are probably parents of rowers that
Yeah.
probably don't know that much, and so as a rower, I'm like, okay, this is kind of funny. They're asking like, "What's a catch?" or "What are they called when they have two oars versus one?" And I'm like, okay, there's got to be a purpose for this that this
Yeah.
guy's here.
Mhm.
But I'm sure it is helpful. And it was interesting. I was paying attention to Albany because this is their first racing season, SUNY
Uh,
Albany as
oh,
Division One.
wow.
They seem to have some pretty good races, so that was good. So good job to Albany.
Yay.
And yeah, so that was kind of a nice, entertaining um, rowing experience this weekend. So, and then keeping an eye on some college teams that Hannah's interested in too. So that was kind of fun.
And when
But
I was walking around SUNY Oswego, I saw a Albany, or not Albany, but SUNY Oswego club crew
I saw
flyer.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
so
that's on the
cool.
flyer. So
Yeah.
shout out to them too. Good luck.
Oh yeah,
Recruitment, it's one rower at a time. I get it.
I'm, I know, I'm curious. I was going to pull that up. Let's pull up the New York State Collegiate championships and see who's
Who's on the list?
scheduled
Yeah,
because
let's
I
get a
did.
shout out to all these teams.
Yeah, definitely. All right, college and teams. All right, so for SUNY, we'll go with that. So we have Binghamton University has 5 boats.
Nice.
Let's see. Stony Brook has 4,
Mhm.
and University Albany has 3. Guess who's listed?
Oh,
University at Buffalo has 2 boats. It
oh
looks like
wow.
2 men's boats,
Okay.
a men's Frosh Novice 4, and a men's quad.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Okay,
Nice.
go Buffalo. And I actually was surprised by that. I'm very optimistic that they have
So
some
no, so
entries in
no
there.
women, so no ladies.
So nothing on there yet, but I don't know if
Right.
maybe I don't
Maybe they're
know.
just starting to get their things. When does
Yeah.
registration close? I mean, probably the week of
Mm,
or the week after or the week, I mean, the week before, or the week of, like the beginning.
yeah. Yeah, I don't see any kind of I don't know. Oh, here it goes. Let's see. Lineups. Well, late registration is the 13th through the 14th.
Oh, so
So,
that's so there's no, yeah, so that's closed pretty much.
yep. All right. Well, go Buffalo.
Go Buffalo.
Maybe once the men get some racing done, they'll get some women on the team too. Or maybe they already do. Maybe they just didn't
Yeah, maybe
decide
they weren't
to.
ready. Yeah, maybe they weren't
Yeah.
ready or
Hmm.
logistics too. I mean, you got a trailer, you got to figure that out. I mean, it's always, and schedules of the kids who you have and yeah, trying
Yeah.
to fit that all together makes it tough. Do they do for New York States, do they do singles?
Um,
Do they have singles on there?
let's
I mean,
see.
I would think they'd have the quad on there.
Yes.
So, and I pairs
Mhm.
and doubles too.
So this is what they have. They have obviously the varsity eights, the 2v8s, the 3v8. That's just for women, 3v. They have a varsity 4, Frosh novice eights, which is interesting because some of these races, I'm pretty sure the Connect Cup and some of the races that I've seen are not doing novice. They're just kind of
Mm.
saying like if this is a novice 8 that this is their whatever 3v 4v8. So
Oh,
at New York State's looks like they're sticking with the novice events.
okay.
They've got novice 4s, doubles, and they're still freshman slash novice events. Doubles, pairs,
Okay.
novice 4. Looks like oh they probably needed multiple flights. So quads, which I don't
Oh,
feel like we did quads. I don't
yeah,
think
not back in
anybody
the
raced.
day. Yeah, not back in the day.
They have an open gender mixed double
Okay.
event, and they have a men's and women's single. So right
Oh,
now they only have one women's single signed up.
okay.
So I don't know what they're going to do with that event. And then they have 4 for the men's singles. Um, yeah, so that's good. Actually, I feel like it's definitely grown. I feel like New York State College Championships has been kind of small over the last few years. Pretty sure it's still just a 1 day event. Yeah, the 19th. And the last race looks like it's scheduled to go off at 1. So not even like a full day. I mean, if you
Oh,
saw,
yeah,
saw the
that's a,
high school event, it's like two
yeah.
days that go until 6 o'clock at night. But
I know the New York States for the high schools is just, I mean, it's just ginormous.
mhm.
A monster of an event. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yep. So I will definitely have more information as we get closer to that. At the end, so this Saturday, I think we're just doing a scrimmage. If that still happens, it's always hard during spring break, to see
yeah,
who's available, but that's what's tentatively scheduled for us. And then we have, let's see what's after that. Maybe there's a
the
weekend.
Saratoga Invitational. Is
Oh
that
yeah, no, it's no weekend in between. Yeah, so after next weekend is Saratoga Invitational,
mhm.
and then I think
States,
then
right?
there's a weekend.
Is there one weekend in between? Oh, you guys don't do the Bennett. The Bennett is
Mm-mm.
is it? Yeah, John Bennett.
Yeah, where is that in
That's it.
Buffalo?
Yeah, that's at West Side. It always like it's plus minus whether that actually happens. Like sometimes it gets canceled because of like the weather, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
the weather on the Black Rock. It's like sometimes you can go over there and it's great, and then sometimes you
Hmm.
go over there and it's yeah, plus minus. I forget the Bennett is the I think the Bennett's the spring one. I forget what the one is in the fall.
Hmm. I can look it up.
I
I'm
think of
not
the
sure.
I can't think of the name. I might have it backwards. Now,
Well,
now that I think
there's
about it,
I know there's quite a few in the fall. They have like the what is it? The Black is it the Black Rock?
I
No.
forget what they
There's
call the fall one. Oh
yeah.
my goodness, it's so crazy.
We are so knowledgeable about rowing. This is such a great podcast.
It's like this is where Uncle Google has to help us.
They have the West Side Invitational, but I think that's in
West
some
Side,
that's
the
in the
West Side
summer.
Invitational is summer. That's like
Yep.
4th of July weekend.
Yep.
And then they have one in the fall that's a head race. And then they have one in the
Yep.
spring, the John Bennett, which is it's a head race style qualifier um with a head-to-head finale.
Right.
So like I think it's like top six boats. Because, or maybe it's top five boats with the fifth lane being the lane that's not really a lane at West Side.
Hmm.
Where they're like, yeah, you can be in
Yes.
lane five. I remember we petitioned. We won that race. We petitioned and won that race. But yeah, they're like, yeah, you can be in lane five if you really want to row the
If you really want, yeah, good
yeah.
luck.
They're like, if you think you got obstructed, but I mean those girls they knew. They were like, we were fast. Like, come on, Coach Reedy, advocate for us. I'm like, all right, you guys, whatever. I'll get up there and chat with these officials. They're like, yeah, if they'll row in lane five, they can row. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah, so
On
you're
that race.
right. May 4th is the John Bennett. That's
I'm
right.
done.
And
Yeah.
then there is the All High Fontana Regatta at the end of May, May 26th. West Side Invitational is July 6th, and Head of the Niagara is October 12th. And then they have something called the Hogan Fries Regatta on November 1st. I've
Mhm.
never heard of that one, but
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't done, I don't think the one at the end of May, we're usually at Pittsford doing the Pittsford Regatta.
mhm.
So, um, and then, I mean, the Pittsburgh Regatta is kind of that odd one because some people are doing like Scholastic Nationals. So the first 2 days people are usually missing, and then everybody kind of comes back into town on that Sunday, and they do the last bit of high school races. But yeah.
So depending on the scrimmage next weekend, I'll try and head up and to the New York States for college and see if I can connect with any of the Buffalo people. Maybe I'll bring them some bagels or something.
Oh, awesome. How far are you from the
Yeah,
race course? I mean,
like 20 minute, and
okay.
it's like
Yeah.
3 or 4 exits, so it's really not. It's easy. Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Only problem is parking, because that
Mhm.
I don't know. You've done states at Saratoga, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's such a pain in the butt.
Parking and then spectating is just not ideal there. So I'll see. I'll scope it out. It's going to be a lot better than the high school weekend because that is just a mob scene. And in for the head of the fish, there's a couple places where you can watch. I mean, a lot of people do watch down near the 9P bridge, but and that's like at after the finish. So you really
Mhm.
don't see much in terms of the race, but you can see them like go underneath the bridge after the race and at least to get some pictures. But we like to go up. There's a bridge up where the Skidmore Boathouse is,
Okay.
and you can get pretty close to them right after they start the Head of the Fish race. So that's nice, but that doesn't work for the spring racing because
Mhm.
it's way beyond the starting
Are they
point for
still
that.
doing did they have drones and were they videoing everything, like doing a live stream?
So yeah, last year's they do a great job with that. So I do have to give them props. So at the finish line or like, where we stand near the finish line, which is kind of in that boat launch area, there's like a cement kind of pier that kind of sticks out. That's
Yeah.
where most of the parents will go if you want to see the rowers. They you'll see them sitting there and we're all on our phones.
Watching it on the
And
phone.
we're
Oh
like,
gosh.
or you're just like trying to share a phone screen with somebody that's next to you to kind of see and like listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
because you can't see anything.
You can't. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I remember, like, back in the day when they didn't do that, we'd have our binoculars and we'd be looking at, I'm like, are they
Hmm.
winning? Are they winning? Are they winning? Like, you couldn't
Can't
tell.
see. And then when
Yeah.
they're kind of coming at you from Saratoga, like when you're
Mhm.
standing in that spot, they're coming towards you at an angle. So even if you
Yeah.
can see them in a binocular, you still
You can't
can't.
figure out who's
Yeah.
where. You
It's
know what I
like
mean?
maybe if they're a little bigger, a little darker, but yeah.
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 But like I love the fact that that's a head-to-head race. Like I think like especially for our area, like you guys get to be on that course quite often, but like
Hmm.
for us, like it's a big deal. Like
Hmm.
rowing the, like the is it 9 or 10 lanes across? I mean, like it's it's a
I
huge course,
I think they actually have 10, which is
mhm,
just
which
crazy
is
to have.
insane. But like
It's insane. Yeah.
I would always
And that's
talk to
for
the kids.
1500 though, because
Yeah,
they do run 2K events. I don't remember which ones are 2K, but so for the 2K they can't do 10, but for 1500 they can do 10 lanes, which
yeah.
and sometimes they do, and sometimes the novice eights when there's 10 of them. It's like, why? Why
10
do
novice
you do
eights
this to
having to
yourselves?
like get into the starting block and
Oh,
the whole spiel. Like,
oh my
but there's
gosh.
nothing like that. When you're
Yeah.
in a big race and you got your,
Hmm.
the stern of your boat's being held and you're
Yeah.
sitting ready and you got the blade in the water and you can see in your peripheral vision like the other boats are sitting there ready too. And just like the anticipation of that is just, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just the best. Like, I remember we had sent I think it was like a novice 4 or novice 8 out there. And like we had been building this up. We had been talking to the kids about it. We had practiced, at practice we'd put the anchor down for one of our launches and we would have the kids come like we would do that like a couple times during the week before state. So like you got to come around, you got to back in, we'll grab your stern and then you're off. So our
Hmm.
kids always knew how to get into the starting blocks and did a great job with that. And so they knew what to anticipate, but we were talking to them about
Oh,
Hey,
hang on.
Chris.
You're on the podcast. 9:30.
That's awesome. I'm surprised Tim hasn't done a photo bomb yet. And because sometimes he'll open the door real quick, be like, "You want something?"
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
um, but we had told these kids about this and just kind of really
Hmm.
hyped up the whole situation. That's going to be really neat. It's rowing. It's like it's the best part of rowing. Like it's going to feel awesome. You're going to be in your unisuit. The boat's going to be, like, waxed up and cleaned, and everybody's going to look, it's going to be awesome. And the sound of all the oars hitting the water when you do your start. And so these kids come back and they're like, that was the most fun thing we've ever done. They're like,
Yeah.
let's go out and do it again. And we burst
Aw.
into laughter because it was just like it was so funny because like the energy from that, like they were already super excited kids. I mean, they're
Hmm.
novices. I mean, it's their
Yeah.
first real, experience. Like they got their unis and their long sleeves on for the first time, and their parents are taking all these pictures and they look professional walking down to the dock and got, they all look the same and they got their hats on and they went out there and they just had a ball. They just like
Yeah.
had the best experience ever. Like those are like the most fun coaching experiences when these kids come back and they're just like hyped
Hmm.
up on life because it was just the coolest thing. So
Yeah.
that's what I
Oh,
love
that's
about
good.
states because we don't get
Yeah.
anything like that here because we just don't have
Hmm.
a body of water where we could really, do
That's true.
that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's, you guys are super lucky to be able to kind of, the kids get a couple opportunities
Hmm.
to do that rather than just like states and if you qualify nationals, so.
Yeah. Well, I will also try and find Dave while I'm up there. I always see Dave Casano there. And
Yep.
then last year, I don't know if her daughter's rowing again, but I don't know if you remember Corey Campbell, who is Corey Leonardo now.
Oh,
She
okay.
Yeah, so she rowed with UB,
Mhm.
really good friends with Courtney, and I saw her there. Uh, it must have been, yeah, States last year. Her daughter's rowing for Baldwinsville, so
Oh,
small world. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
so cool. Maybe
Hmm.
if you connect, we should
Yeah.
have her come on the podcast. That would be
Sure.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And maybe
definitely.
we should have Dave come out on the podcast. I just called him the other
I
day.
was thinking that. Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah,
did
we should
because
definitely have him.
I rescued the front of a rowing machine, like an old like Model C,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have a rail. And I was like, who could potentially have? And then I was like, let me just write. We have like a coaches group chat
Hmm.
from when we were doing level 3 for US rowing, and I
Hmm.
wrote everybody. And of course, like I should have just written Dave. Dave's like, I think I have one, and so he had a bunch of. I forget what college he said he got them from. Like they just like gave them all these Model Cs, fronts and backs. They're, some are usable, some aren't, some have parts missing, some he's just been pillaging for parts and putting things together. And I was like, well, do you have an extra rail? Because I don't have a back for this rowing machine. And he's like, yeah, I got one. So
Oh,
actually,
good.
to bring the story full circle,
Hmm.
Mercy goes and plays and competes against, it does like a scrimmage with Baldwinsville. So when Mercy
Oh,
goes to Baldwinsville, they're going to pick up the rail for me and bring it back to Rochester.
oh,
So,
perfect.
yeah. So
Nice.
I still I have a bunch of things I need to order from C2 as far as like getting ready for the clinic and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I'm still waiting on the lease. I should see something today.
Oh, good.
But I've got a couple of rowing machines that I've kind of, the two that I bought from Genesee Waterways that were kind of in different levels of disrepair. So I'll have to put them back together. And then the one that they put on the curb that I took. And so then Dave's going to give me the rail for that one, put that one together. So t in total, I think I have 9 rowing machines now, which is
Hmm.
good, which means I can could do like a rowing class with 8 participants, me being the ninth to instruct. So that's a good size class. That means 4 people on my right, 4 people on my left. And I like to
Okay.
sit in the class during when I teach the
Hmm.
class. It's just fun to do the workout with people
Hmm.
and then I can modify it kind of as we go. Like what's the vibe? Like are people like really pushing hard? Like should we push it or are people kind of like, kind of in more like a chatty, let's just get a little workout mode in. So I like to be in the class with the group. So
Oh, good.
that could be good. Yeah.
Nice. Very
So,
good.
yeah.
Well, I think we have to wrap up soon, but I thought we could do a shout out to, we were looking at our analytics, and I thought it was very interesting to see that. I mean, no surprise, a huge majority, what was it, like 94.6 listen from the US. So thank you to all of our US listeners.
Thank
We are
you.
so
Thank you.
excited to have you listening.
Mhm.
Um, and then we have what is it? Well, I should just pull up the infograph. Let's see. We've got 2.4% of our listeners are from Germany. So, I mean, and that's more than the Japanese and UK, which each of them represent 1.2% of our listeners. So, you got to say that's at least 2 people from Germany that are
Exactly.
listening. So,
Yeah.
thank you for listening
Thank
from
you for
Germany,
listening. Yeah.
and then from Japan and from the UK. And then there's less than 1% that listen from Russia.
Yeah. So somebody from Russia is
Okay.
listening. So
Okay.
hi.
Hi. I
Reach
don't know how to.
out if you want to come on the podcast. You
Sure. Yeah. So it's been fun to kind of dig into those analytics and yeah, and thank you again to all of our listeners for
To
listening. And
everybody.
we
Yeah.
are we just love chatting about rowing. So if you enjoy rowing too and you want to hop on, let us know. We would love to have you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, and we'll have a really
Yeah,
great week. And we will check back in again next week with more rowing friends
mhm.
information.
Sounds good. Have a great week,
Have a great
Adrian.
week. You take care.
All right, you too.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.